and remarried civilly, they come to the church, they cannot receive communion. Half of the church cannot receive communion. What to do? That is the problem. That's why they are saying we should be more sympathetic to them. I don't expect any extraordinary changes. Only then they are going to say, you can be in Vincent de Paul Society, you can do this. But if you allow communion, nobody will come to our ecclesiastical court for annulment. That's all. So it's very, very difficult question. However pastoral our new Pope can be, but then if you allow people in invalid marriages to receive communion, there won't be any respect for communion, Holy Communion. Okay. Anything related to on? Okay, Gabriel, we will give more topics for other. Okay, go ahead.
This one has more liturgical implications.
Okay.
Is it lawful for a priest to give the couple a mass, or can he only just be a service?
Okay, good. So, in principle, since it is not a sacrament, so it must be, in India at least it is the practice and it is the rule of the church also, disparity of cult marriage should be outside the mass. Disparity of cult marriage should be outside the mass. Outside the mass. For this mixed marriage, if the other party believes in the Eucharist, it can be in the mass. So Protestant churches, they don't believe in the Eucharist, that also is discouraged. But suppose Orthodox, they have the sacrament, and at that time even they can be given communion. Canon 844 says, 844, in certain situations, that even the Orthodox can be given communion, and we also can receive communion from the Orthodox priest when our priests are not available because they have the valid sacraments. So we will read the provisions of 844 later. Now we don't take the canon. Okay. Anything? Yes. Okay. New.
Can an unmarried mother receive
Yes.
Holy Communion?
Holy Communion. Yes. Unmarried mother, see, outside marriage can receive Holy Communion. Surely she can receive Holy Communion. Then she is not living with her spouse in marriage.
But if she is still living with a man,
With the man, they did not marry at all.
Yes.
They did not marry at all. Only living together. Only cohabitation. Now, see, cohabiting couple. So when they make confession, they are supposed to say that they will rectify the marriage. They have to rectify the marriage. Why they are living together? They don't believe in the sacrament. The church doesn't approve of simple cohabiting without marriage. So when she comes for confession, I am sorry, I am living in a union outside marriage. The priest must dissuade her from receiving communion, and then she should at least at least promise that she should live as brother and sister. That's not possible. You are already given birth to a child. How will the society accept? Normally we have to dissuade such people. That's a problem. So it is the same case as officially marrying outside the church. When we don't allow them, without marriage, two people are living together. How can we allow them to communion? It will be scandal to the community. So with regard to the Eucharist, to who can be denied Eucharist? Canon 9:15. Will you take Canon 9:15 and read? Holy Communion is to be denied. 9:15.
Those upon whom the penalty of excommunication or interdict has been imposed or declared, and others who obstinately persist in manifest grave sin are not to be admitted to Holy Communion.
Yes. It says, see, those upon whom the penalty of excommunication or interdict is imposed, they should not be given communion. Excommunicated persons and interdicted persons. The third category, it says, those who persist obstinately, adamantly in manifest grave sin should not be admitted to communion. So, your question, adamantly persisting in that union, they should not be given communion. If the person says, I will cut my relationship with that person, or if he doesn't come early, then the person can be given communion. You are persisting in a relationship, apparently not in communion with the church teaching, then it should be said. But in these cases also, the parish priest must handle the matter very sensitively. Suppose the person comes in the line, don't humiliate the person. You know of it, this is a situation, first rectify your marriage and then come for communion. Call her politely and then say. That's it.
Okay, one thing I want to, regarding the dispensation for the marriage, no, for between one Catholic and one unbaptized.
Yeah.
Can they celebrate in the context of the Mass? Okay, the Chancery Office in Singapore asking if the non-baptized, unbaptized person knows, have some idea, has some knowledge about the Eucharist. If they have, we can apply, and the Chancery Office will grant us the dispensation. That is
Permission
for this marriage, they can also have the Mass. Okay, this is because sometimes the Catholic party, they may have a lot of friends, relatives, all Catholics, so this is given permission to be granted by, we have to request for it.
Okay.
And then I just also received, I was asking the Chancery Office, are all priests in Singapore given the faculty to absorb the sins of abortion?
Yeah.
He said yes, all priests in Singapore given.
Okay, good.
Because in
That's
Italy, for example, in Italy, I was there for 2 years. The standing order is that if there's any person who come and make a sins of confession or abortion, I have to tell the person, I cannot serve you. I have to speak to the bishop, or sometimes the bishop will say, okay, I'll call this person to come and see me. Okay? Or sometimes the bishop will say, okay, I'll give you the faculty, isolated cases, you can absorb the sins of this person. So different from diocese to diocese about this absorption of the sins of the penitents.
Thank you for the clarification. So generally, when the person is unbaptized, we don't. But with sometimes the diocese gives permission here, it seems. Secondly, I said only bishop can absolve the sins and the specific priest can absolve. As in India, as I too have in my own diocese of Pondicherry, we have the faculty to absolve the sin of abortion also. So also in Singapore. Good. Thank you for the clarification and the practice. Then anything regarding the marriage? Yes.
Father, many of us know people who are invalid marriages.
Yes.
Relationships. And they themselves know that the church doesn't approve of it. However, there are other people I know who actually justify that it's okay for them to receive communion. Because they say that the church is not merciful or the church doesn't understand the case. Actually, they don't understand, of course, but how do we talk to them in a pastoral manner and try to explain this is quite complex? What's your advice on that?
Yeah. So your first premise is that many of them know that they are in invalid marriage. Yeah. So they are in invalid. See, even though they are in invalid marriage, they want to come to communion. How do we pastorally approach them? That's the question that our synod is going to take now. October they are going to decide. So invalid marriage means why? Because one is no consent. Because most of the time it is the problem of the divorcees. First marriage failed. They don't have the time and patience to approach our tribunal. So it is not, there may be so many marriages invalid. Marriage enjoys the favor of law. Marriage is considered to be valid, and even though it is invalid, until it is declared by the church as invalid. So you have to go to the church tribunal. Sometimes church tribunal are not very active. I am going about India, addressing different tribunals to do their work speedily, because justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. So the tribunal doesn't do the work. So that's why the family counseling in every parish. So this is a marriage. Whether we can help these persons, they have to direct them, must have preliminary work in the parish level and then send to the tribunal whether there is one of these grounds. Precisely for this, one of these grounds possible. The law of the church says within 1 year first instance has to be. Second instance, now they may remove it also within 1 month they will ratify, or if they admit it as an ordinary tribunal, it will be for 6 months. So within 1.5 years, it can be possibly a solution can be given to the person. But if the person says, that I will be in an invalid marriage only, I won't go to the tribunal, even though I am invalid, I am living with somebody, then there is a contradiction between his life and practice. That's all. In danger of death, we can forgive him, that is another matter. There is a contradiction. So when you are belonging to an association, you are bound by certain rules. So this is to preserve the dignity due to the sacrament. Dignity due to the sacrament. That's why. Apparently you don't accept it, we have to be very kind to them. Some of them are not able to be helped. Some of them no ground of nullity can be found. We have to be kind to them, sympathetic to them. You participate in the church with the works of mercy, we cannot help you. Ultimately God is the judge. We don't condemn anybody. We don't know all that the woman went through. We don't know all that the man went through living with this person. But then they don't have the time and energy to approach the tribunal and wait for it. In this case, both we have to respect the rules of the judge. The law is always meant to help the people. As far as possible, we have to try at the initial stages to reconcile the parties and resume and even rectify the marriage, the first marriage itself. We have to find out. But somebody saying adamantly, I will come to the church and receive communion, even though I am with the second wife. No, that's not to be permitted. You don't belong to the, you don't have any right to that. That's it. So we have to be very sensitive, Madam Pastor, please.
Yeah, we have cases, for example, forced ligation or sterilization, no? After family have 2 or 3 children, especially in Singapore, we have this issue.
Yeah.
So how does the canon law look at this aspect when a couple after having the second child, they are obliged or by obliging the civil law to ligate or sterilization?
Okay. So this is the thing. See, the official teaching of the church, this is not in the law of the church. These things are not in the law of the church. Before that it is there, the other party has to be informed. The person doesn't want, then cheated into marriage. We already dealt with the matter. Post marriage, after the marriage, some people after 2 children, they want to stop. You have tubectomy or vasectomy, whatever it may be, after the marriage, after these children. The official teaching of the church, though it is very, very present, difficult and unpleasant, they want only the natural family planning to be followed. With regard to the other things, if both of them are doing, the woman goes for a man goes for the sterilization or woman goes for vasectomy, in these situations, if they make, the teaching of the church is that you should not go for it. The teaching of the church, official teaching of the church is that you should not go for it. But then somebody has already done it, now they come for confession, we have to forgive. The person must make reparation, feel sorry for it and then come in. That's how we go about it. So, the teaching of the church, we have to, even though in some areas it is very, very difficult, it must be open to life. It must be open to life, greater self-control. And I do understand, especially here at least, there is more of equality of dignity and acceptance. In poor countries, when the man is drunkard and then forces the wife, children after children, all these teaching on natural family planning methods will not work. We really feel sorry, but then the church cannot change its teaching. With regard to the act, must be open for life. The sexual act must be open for life. Even with regard to the use of contraceptive methods, the church has not changed its teaching so far. Church has not. Some places they have some adaptations and then they follow their conscience and things like that. I don't want to be giving out a new opinion which is not yet officially approved by the church. The church wants the sexual act to be open to life only, and then once it has taken place, then we don't have any help. We don't have any help afterwards. That's it. So this is outside the canon law, but I just say about the life of the church.
Yeah, regarding this ethical and moral life. So if this person comes, as you say, okay, the person done the ligation or sterilization, do we ask them to revert?
No. You don't do it. You don't do it. You don't want them to go back to another surgery and revert it. No, the church doesn't want it. Yes.
Father, I have a question which is a little bit reverse.
Yeah.
About those who really want to have children, but they cannot conceive.
Yeah.
So they go to like intro,
Vitro fertilization. Okay, okay. I am not an expert in all these topics. Your parish is now official moral theology is you adopt a child, don't go for it. The church doesn't want human beings to be produced in machine. That is the teaching of the church. That's the teaching of the church. If somebody goes for it and asks for it, that is their problem. The teaching, the being is that, okay, God is there. God gives life. Even if you are sterile, you glorify God by your life. That's what you are. You are not going through all these artificial methods for it. That is the teaching of the church. Okay. Yes. So many questions. Yes.
What's the canon law take on this stem cell research and all this?
I don't get it.
Stem cell research.
Stem cell.
Yeah. Regarding that, what Tim, I am supposed to answer only on canon law. You have to answer about. No, I don't want to enter a field in which I am not so. Now that I know your different questions, your own experts will be there. Canon law, as of now, doesn't say. I give these things developed, especially after 83. So nothing is there. You have to read the official teaching of the church with regard to medical ethics. Regarding this, canon law is opposed to it. So the law gives expression to the official teaching of the church. Stem cell research, canon law is not for it. Yes. I mean, the teaching of the church is not for it. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Questions like this are actually taught very well
Yeah.
in the Personal Moral Compass by
Yeah.
Father David Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a one-year course. Okay. In my experience in Singapore, questions on bioethics,
Bioethics, yeah,
marriage, and morality and ethics are handled very well for lay people by a course called Personal Moral Compass. The full course starts in January. It runs 1 year, but there are different modules. So I should think that the marriage and bioethics course would be coming up. So look out in the Catholic news for the advertisement, and questions like the stem cells, IVF and introversion, all these are very, very well answered in this course. And he's the expert for it.
Okay. So we will come back to canon law. What is that? So now we are entering another territory. I know table tennis well and canon law well, not the bioethics. Okay.
There will be a revised version to address all these issues with bioethics.
Yeah. No, it will be. See, canon law gives only it doesn't go into the theology as much as what is needed for these things and all. So in general, even liturgical matters, canon number 2 says, for the most part, canon law doesn't deal with liturgy. It says in one sentence, but only in general, like that. General only. Yes?
Father, if let's say between married between a Catholic and a non-Catholic, their children, so the baptism how? Because if let's say the non-Catholic party doesn't consent of having the children be baptized, so then
Okay. So both are equal in that sense, you mean. Yeah. When a Catholic and non-Catholic marry, baptized non-Catholic, or you will speak of unbaptized?
if that children,
Yeah. So now the law itself says, we said in 1125, the Catholic party must promise that I will do all in my power to bring up the baptize and bring up the children in the Catholic faith. That is it. So now, what about the un-Catholic party should be informed? Beginning itself he is opposed. No, I will not allow me. Then the permission may not be granted also. Right? After the marriage, the unbaptized party or a non-Catholic party says, no, I will not allow. Is it to the extent of breaking the marriage? No. You try your best honestly, but the other party doesn't agree. The marriage will break. Don't insist on baptizing when the marriage is going to break. But at the time, so we take certain precautionary measures. That's to see to it, one thing at least, the Catholic party must not lose his or her faith. And then try to propagate the faith at least to the children. But do all in your power. So the interpretation of what is doing all in your power, This all in your power is not to the extent of breaking your marriage. Good. Yes.
Father, if Catholic married non-baptized,
Yes.
non-baptized,
Yeah.
subsequently the one baptized,
Yes.
so is it sacramental marriage? Or
Yes. It becomes immediately sacramental. It becomes, he is saying, at the time of marriage, one was baptized, another was non-baptized. Afterwards, the other party, unbaptized party, becomes baptized. The marriage is valid. By baptism, it becomes sacrament. No need of again celebrating the marriage. Some of the priests themselves don't understand this issue. For example, a Taoist couple married validly, civilly, okay. They receive baptism. Once again, you don't bless the marriage. It was a valid marriage with a natural bond. With the reception of baptism, automatically it becomes sacramental bond. So even if both are unbaptized at the time of marriage, a couple, a Hindu couple, unmarried, man and woman unmarried, valid marriage, but once they receive baptism, it becomes additional firmness and becomes a sacramental marriage. No need of blessing the marriage. Once again, that means no need of once again saying you have to marry in the church. Because that means their first marriage is invalid. First marriage is valid for them. They were valid in the, but you can say on such and such a day, they were baptized, it becomes automatically a sacramental marriage. That entry can be done. We don't call it rectifying the marriage. It will be disrespect to the non-Catholics, non-Christians. We don't rectify that marriage. We rectify only invalid marriages. It was a valid marriage.
Yeah, this brother maybe is asking a question is, I think, for example, this Catholic and a non-Catholic, they are
Disparity of culture, they
civil
marry.
marriage, only civil marriage, and eventually they will not marry in the church.
No. You are speaking about married in the church. First marriage is married
Already,
in the church.
if they are not married in the church, it's not valid. Okay?
Yeah.
So they have to convalidate the marriage in the church. For this case, no, even
He is speaking about
Yeah.
they married already.
because there are many cases that between the marriage,
Okay.
civil marriage between a Catholic and a non-Catholic. If they are not married in the church, when they get this person, the non-Catholic, become a Catholic, before that they have to convalidate the marriage. Convalidate means we convalidate the marriage that has taken place maybe 5 years
Civilly.
ago in the civil
So
civil
canonical
marriage.
form was missing in the first marriage.
Okay.
Even if one party is Catholic, you are bound by the canonical form. So in your case, it was okay. Okay.
Okay, but the liturgy, Gabriel wanted to ask one thing about it, the liturgy,
Yeah.
about the exposition of the Blessed Sacraments in a youth camp or in any group. Okay.
Father, is it lawful for any lay person, be it whether is it extraordinary minister of Holy Communion, is it lawful for him to just go to the tabernacle, take a post, put inside the monstrance, and expose the amen? Is it lawful?
Yes, lawful. Yeah, Canon law says something about it. In the sacrament of the Eucharist, you take the canon. Okay, exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. Okay, reservation and veneration of the Blessed Eucharist. The 943. 943.
The minister of exposition of the Blessed Sacrament and of the Eucharistic blessing is a priest or deacon.
Exposition and the Eucharistic blessing is a priest or deacon. Continue.
In special circumstances, the minister of exposition and deposition alone, but without the blessing, is an acolyte. An extraordinary minister of Holy Communion, or another person deputed by the local ordinary in accordance with the regulations of the diocesan bishop.
Yes. So the exposition and acolyte or Eucharistic minister can do according to the regulations of the diocesan bishop. So, no, that would be the acolyte. See, the communion ministers are more or less acolytes, no? Communion ministers and all. If they are authorized by the diocese, they can do it. Only exposition and this. but our diocesan regulations have to be followed.
But especially in the sense of, for example, a youth camp, they want to do some songs, praise and worship with the Blessed Sacrament without, in a sense, no?
No, you have to be authorized to do so. Authorized to do so. You can't do it. Say, for example, you are from the tabernacle, you bring it and expose it for public worship. Provided you are permitted. Layperson. Yeah, yes. Otherwise, you can't do on your own. The Eucharist is under the custody of the parish priest. Eucharist is under the custody of the parish priest. Only thing, you can't give the blessing. You can't give the blessing. Blessing can be given priest or deacon. 943. With the permission of the parish priest, you can bring from the tabernacle, expose it for public worship. In the monstrance, keep it, no problem. That's what happens in a convents, no? The sister superior is permitted by the bishop for exposition. One sister superior also gave a blessing. That is wrong. But convents mother superiors in our diocese are authorized to expose the blessed sacrament.
Okay, for example, we have our adoration room where it's permanent, perpetual, exposed blessed sacraments.
Yes, yes.
For example, a youth or some other group want to have it here, and we're doing other praise and worship or whatsoever. Is it because worship in either in a very solemn or in the praise and worship?
So this will, according to me, it will come under exposition. So the parish priest must permit, according to the diocesan regulations. Otherwise, they can't carry about anywhere and everywhere like that. They are not allowed to give blessing. They are allowed to bring the Holy Communion for exposition. And they are allowed to take the Holy Communion for keeping it back in the proper place. That's it. Yeah. Follow the diocesan regulations on this matter. Follow the diocesan regulations. It is given. Yes.
Does the law define what is divine worship?
What is divine worship? So, what is divine worship? So, the very first canon in the fourth book of the code, something says about the liturgy. Law doesn't go into the details of theology, but it speaks about the sanctifying office of the church. Let us see whether there is something. Okay. I will read to you the first canon, 834 of book 4. The church carries out its office of sanctifying in a special way in the sacred liturgy, which is indeed seen as an exercise of the priestly office of Jesus Christ. In the liturgy, by the use of signs perceptible to the senses, sanctification is symbolized, and in a manner appropriate to each sign is brought about. Through the liturgy, a complete public worship is offered to God by the head and members of the mystical body of Christ. This worship takes place when it is offered in the name of the church by a person lawfully deputed and through the actions approved by the ecclesiastical authority. So that's what it gives in the first canon regarding that. When it is lawfully approved by the church, with regard to the liturgical books and all, there is distinction between public worship and private worship. When it is public worship, it must be regulated by the Pope, by the bishops. So these are things that is given. So we don't go into the details of it. Yes.
Well, I understand that the Holy Father is supreme lawgiver, right?
Yes.
Therefore, he's not bounded by canon.
He only gives. He can make it. No, he can change the law.
No, correct. So they cannot law bind him.
Yeah, bind him. So what are the powers of the Pope? For example, it says it binds him. For example, the Holy Father, say one of the laws says the bishops have ordinary authority in the diocese. The bishops have ordinary authority to govern the people. 391 speaks about the legislative power and the judicial power and the executive power of the bishops within the diocese. 391. 381 says the Holy Father must reserve to himself only few things. All other things the bishop must be independent, it says. the theology of the church says not only Holy Father but also Bishop is the vicar of Christ. When the Holy Father cannot change these fundamental theological norms with regard to discipline, in accordance with the principle of subsidiarity, he can reserve certain things to himself. Suppose he asks one bishop, you should ask everything, for everything my permission. He is violating the law. He will not do it, and it will not be an edification for the people of God to follow that law. So all are bound by the law. We have to set example to others. But he can change this law. The lawmaker can change the law, change only the human law according to the time. Yes. Yes.
Can you comment?
Yeah.
The couple is